You're listening to the Clear Creek Resources podcast from Clear Creek Community Church. To hear more, check out clearcreekresources.org.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Clear Creek Resources podcast. My name is Aaron Lutz. I help pastor Clear Creek at our East 96 campus. But I want to thank you for listening today. We're in a sermon series right now talking about the blessing, this idea of passing down the goodness of God to the next generation. And really, this is a series about legacy. Not only do we want to leave a legacy for the next generation in our home, but also in the community that we get to be a part of. So what about a blessing at the ball field? Like, what would it look like for us to invest in the next generation by leaving a legacy through Little League? So today I'm excited to sit down with two area Little League baseball coaches and just talk about how they're trying to coach from a Christian worldview. So I want to welcome Michael Graves and Aaron Chester to the podcast. Thanks for jumping in today, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Cool. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, why don't y'all give us some context? Like, where do you coach? How long have you been coaching Little League? Tell us a little bit about that.
I just finished up my first year coaching. I've coached other sports, but first year in Little League.
Cool.
I coach in Friendswood. Coached 7U this spring with my son, Austin, and we did All-Stars together. I was one of the assistant coaches on that team as well.
Awesome.
So long summer.
7U in Friendswood is machine pitch, coach pitch, kid pitch. Where are you at?
It is first year coach pitch.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Mike, what about you?
I actually just finished up my first full year, so I started in fall of 2021 with fall ball, and then did spring ball, and then similar to Aaron, led the All-Star team out at League City Little League. So,
Cool. For 7U.
7U.
So all three of us have boys the same age, kind of playing and around. But Friendswood, League City, is that a rival? It's not really, because y'all are doing coach pitch, they're doing machine pitch, a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah. We'll wait. That rivalry, it's building.
Yeah.
It's festering.
They're
right?
not in our district for the All-Star League. So
Gotcha.
yes, yeah,
Gotcha.
for sure.
But y'all do play against like Bayside and NASA and kind of all the other area leagues. What about your own playing careers? This is like your chance to brag a little bit. I want to hear how awesome you were. Where'd you play? How long did you play? When did you peak? When was like the top of it for you?
Oh,
Tell us about that.
You haven't peaked yet, have you?
I have, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right.
It's
Well, you
a
go
pretty
first.
funny
So why don't you start?
Okay. So, very fortunate. Baseball was just really just a blessing in my life. Played through high school. Was fortunate enough to move on, play in college. So I've had 2 years down in the Valley at UT Brownsville. Spent a year at Stephen F. Austin and finished up at Kentucky Wesleyan College up in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Cool.
That's where I graduated from. And then I was fortunate enough to sign a professional contract to play after Kentucky Wesleyan. And the peak, my first professional at bat, my first professional swing, I hit a home run.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you
left
did.
center field. And if I would have retired right there, things would have worked out a lot better. But it's kind of downhill spiral from there. But definitely grateful to the game and all the opportunity that it's provided me, for sure. Yeah.
That is awesome. I definitely should answer that question first. So I was a multi-sport guy, so my peak was probably my sophomore year. I played 2 years of varsity, but had a great sophomore year and made varsity as a sophomore. So that was
Cool.
And
That's
what
a big deal.
What high school?
San Antonio Churchill.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. My playing career, I feel like I get better every year since I didn't play.
Yeah.
You know, it's like looking back,
Yes.
man, I was really good. You know, but like second team all district is turning into like all district. I mean,
There you
leave
go.
off the second,
Yes.
all world
Hey, that's
actually,
a big
all
deal.
state.
It is
you
a
know.
big deal.
So obviously, neither one of you, fully made a career playing baseball. You have different careers now. We all top out at some point. So what's motivated your involvement in coaching? So obviously, having boys that are in the league is a big part of that. But what's your hope for not only your own sons, but the boys in our next generation within our community coaching through baseball? What's that look like for y'all? What's motivated that involvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two parts. There's my story, which is I just grew up playing sports.
Yeah.
Like that's all. I mean, all I cared about as a kid was playing sports and having good grades.
Yeah.
And so I was just outside in the front yard playing. And I remember thinking about before I even had kids that I was going to coach my kids. So there's that side of it. But then I actually didn't coach Austin in t-ball his first year. And just observing the level of intensity and hyper competitive, it was overwhelming. I mean, the intensity was, you would have thought the other coaches were like NFL linebacker coaches and not
Right.
t-ball little league local coaches.
Yeah.
And so that really that helped me remember, to think through my own story and my passions is like. There's a place and there's a need to model a different way to coach, and so that really prompted me to do it this year. Yeah,
Cool.
and going forward as well.
Yeah. What about you? What's motivated you to coach?
My motivation is just taking what the game provided me, did for me, just through all the way from Little League to high school into college, and then very short stint professionally, just being able to take that and instill that in the kids. Just bringing a love-forward environment where, speaking to Aaron's talking about the intensity of the coaches around the league at times is just too much. And you want to just pause and let's really remember why we're here. And it's for the kids, and to provide those boys with the opportunity to learn the game, learn how to play the game the right way, learn sportsmanship, learn how to be a teammate. And that's my biggest motivation, is just providing an environment out there on that field of, I could say it over and over again, but it's love and encouraging. Just love and encouragement continually. So.
Good. That's part of passing the goodness of God on to the next generation. Love and encouragement from men who love these guys, and shaping them at a young age. Let's talk a little bit about, you talked about your own experience, Aaron, with Little League and just the memories you created there. What were some of your greatest Little League memories, and how are you hoping to kind of create some of those for the guys you're coaching? Yeah,
I mean, I played T-ball through varsity, so I have tons of memories, and some of them are, those plays that you're so thankful that the diving catch just worked out the way you would hope it would. But when I actually step back and think about it, it was the friendships. It was playing under the lights, when you're in elementary school, like just at the Little League ball field even. But one thing that really it stands out right there is like running from the dugout to the concession stand after the game. And it's like to get, and I don't know what y'all call them, but suicides, as y'all call it, when you mix all the drinks together. It's a terrible name.
It's a snow cone for us was the motivating factor.
Snow cones now. This is, long time ago. But you mixed all the drinks together, And so, but I remember that. Like almost equally as some of the plays or the hits that that I remember. So that helps me, because what I want to pass on to my kids is whenever they want snow cones or whatever after the game, it's like, it's not hey, it's late, we got to go to bed. It's like, hey, that's a good way to wrap up tonight. Let's have fun. Yeah, go get a snow cone, and then let's get in the car.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah, get the sugar-free one so you can fall asleep when you get home. But yeah, so.
What about you, Michael? Greatest memories?
To speak to that, where we're at right now, leaving the ballpark, it's stopping at the nearest place with the icy machine, and it's a little bit of every flavor. So I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about, and that is a must. And not only does our oldest get one, but our little guy gets one, and it's an after every game thing. So, but as far as me and my playing career and just greatest memories at a little leaguer, there's no specific play that really stands out. For me, it was the experiences of being able to play at higher levels along the way. The places we were able to play, Colorado and Florida and Oklahoma, specifically a lot of the international competition I was able to play against, and that was a huge blessing, just getting able to see how these other coaches prepare, how they prepare their players, and just really seeing the full scope of what the game does internationally as well. Just kind of a unique perspective, and just that's an experience I'm definitely thankful for sure.
That's cool. Yep. Did you go play like at Williamsport? Where are you playing against people from other countries?
So,
that's awesome.
There was a specific tournament we played in Colorado, and then there was my senior year of high school. I was invited to a tournament in Florida at Disney, which at the time was the Braves spring training home, and that was a really cool experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. So having played baseball, I always talk about there's like life lessons that are just inherent in the game, right? They go beyond just the game. So I'm curious, what are some of those for you? Like, and have you had some of those kind of teaching moments, even with 7U boys, to be like, look, here's what the game of baseball teaches you about life. So what are some of those experiences for y'all?
Yeah, I mean, it's full of it, right? Yeah. I mean, you can talk about, how to fail well, how to recover from an error or a strikeout and all that stuff. I think one story from this season that really kind of encapsulates a few things for us was actually the first game of the year, so it really, it's this fun story. But Austin was playing pitcher, and it's coach pitch, so he's standing next to the opposing coach, who actually was pitching from way too close, as it turns out. And so this is towards the end of the game, it's a close game. The other coach asked the umpire to tell Austin to move back. And all we'd ever told him was, hey, just stand next to the pitcher, either to the right or the left, depending on the batter or whatever. Well, the umpire steps out into the field and tells Austin, you need to scoot back, and shows him where to stand. And nothing happened. Like, it was fine. And we get to the dugout. Austin, no balls were hit to him that inning. And he starts crying. He's like, hey, I don't want to go back. I don't want to play pitcher anymore. He's like, he told me that. And the umpire was fine. Everything was good. But Austin was like, I don't want to play pitcher. And I was like, hey, buddy, we need you back at pitcher. Let's get back out there. Well, it turns out he does go back out there, and it took some, encouragement and love
sure.
and support. He makes a play to get the third out, and we get out of that inning. So he makes a good play, and then the next in the bottom of the sixth, the last inning, one of our kids comes up and hits a walk-off double to win. Cool. But all of that was connected. His resiliency to stay in the game, to go back out, to be a part of the team through his discomfort, set up his teammate to win the game for us. And then we got to talk about all that together. Cool. And it was just one small play, so it was fun. Yeah,
so even learning to manage conflict, and disappointment and being coached and some of those things, that's all really helpful. Mike, what about you? What are some of those coachable moments?
I'll tell you, this is one of the areas that really motivates me to get to the ballpark every day. I say every day, it's 6 days a week, I feel like. But so really, I have a couple stories, but one specifically going into All-Star season this last year, my son, Michael Lee, was one of the 12 players that was fortunate to be selected on the team, and he was really intimidated by the idea of being an All-Star. And he put a ton of pressure on himself, and he'd go up and he'd struggle at the plate and have in Little League you're only getting 2, maybe 3 at bats a game. Right. And I pulled him off to the side of the first, second game, and I said, dude, you can strike out 100 out of 100 times. I'm going to love you no matter what. Yes. I'm going to love you just the same. Second story, we had a little boy at our first, so we carried our all-star team into the district play this fall for our fall season, and we had one little boy who's a pickup player experiencing the similar thing that Michael Lee just went through. And we're in batting practice. We're not even in a game. We're in batting practice, and he's swinging and missing, swinging and missing, swinging and missing. And we all know that the parents in the stand saying a little something. One coach is saying another thing, another coach is saying another thing. And how much pressure is this little boy feeling, right? Yeah. So I said, hey, put the bat down. I walked away out to the outfield. We're all away from anybody. And I'm real intentional about, I try to get down on their level so I'm not talking down to them.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and I just put my arm around him. I'm like, dude, don't sweat all this. Yeah. I said, take a deep breath. I said, I want you here to have fun. And we're going to work through all the mechanic flaws. We'll work through all that. But it's really just making sure that kid knows that no matter what, and it's any player on the team that I'm leading, that I love them unconditionally. And I just feel like providing that back to love and encouragement, it just creates for such an awesome experience for the kids and frankly for the parents too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's so good.
Well, and having men that know and follow Jesus impacts a child's life, right? Sure. Not just in the home, not just at church, but to have a coach as one of those people, it's really great. I've thought about lots of life lessons. I've learned to fail. You strike out often. You have to learn to rebound. Sure. But you go 1 for 3 in a game, dude. You do that all year. You're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And so you're failing 2 out of 3 times, but learning to come back from that. I think I probably have tougher skin today because of how hard my coach was on me in high school. And that learned, I learned to deal with conflict and rejection or disappointment or whatever, all by playing baseball. So those are all really, really helpful. All right, so I mentioned you both know and follow Jesus. I know both of you are deeply committed to the church. You lead in different ways. Aaron's an elder at 528. Michael is a navigator at East 96, but you also serve on Sundays in different ways. So how has being a Christ follower impacted that coaching style for you? So how do you impact or interact with parents and with players in a different way because you know and follow Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, it affects 100% of what I do. Yeah. I mentioned one of the things that really pushed me into coaching this year was what I saw last year, right. Competitive, overly intense. And so it would be natural to say, hey, the opposite of that, or actually what would be better would just say, hey, it doesn't matter if we win, or let's just have fun at the expense of like developing skills sure. or, trying hard, trying to win. And so for me, it was not taking that out of it, but hey, I want to use baseball as the context to share God's way of life with you and like to love and encourage, like Michael's saying. And so it shapes everything. Because, like I said, I think people look at it, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's how do we care about winning? How do we care about playing? And what does that look like if God is with us to treat the other team and the umpires and all that? So it all is shaped by Christ.
What about you, Michael?
Shapes it all. When you're out there on that field and you're not sacrificing the intensity of the practice or the intentionality of practice or what we're doing through the drills, you're also preparing to win, but it's not a win at all cost environment, period. Yeah. And frankly, there's a lot of folks out there that are win at all costs. And, what does that look like missionally when you're out there at that field? Where's that where we're always trying to love and encourage, like I keep saying that, but it's literally, that's what we're there to do. And you want to just continue to, I believe that brings up conversations that we can have, where we go to church and why we do what we do, and all that does just happens naturally once you show that that's who you are out there in that field,
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think it has to be intentional, and you have to think through what's your philosophy of coaching, because it's really, hey, I'm going to celebrate the kid on the other team that just made the diving catch that actually we lost. I mean, actually, friends of ours that go to 528, I mean, their son made a game-saving catch. I mean, it's a 2-run homer if he doesn't jump up and snag this ball. And I mean, and I was the third base coach, and they were in the third base dugout. I mean, it was one of the best plays you can imagine for a 7-year-old making, and he's one of the best players. And I hugged him because I know how much they care, and it was just, but that was my natural reaction because I was excited for him, even though it cost us the game, But you have to think through that stuff before you get on the field. Otherwise, it's easy just to fall into, hey, I actually do want to win. I want to have more runs than the other team, and so you kind of forget who you are if you don't.
That's a really good point, like establishing that from the beginning, because you get swept up in the momentum and the excitement. And so I helped as an assistant coach, but I could feel, the intensity of the head coach. I'm like, man, I want to match that. I'm in with you guys, So I feel that too. Yes. Talk about just your other priorities. So you're deeply committed in the church. I mean, there's a day I saw Michael serve in children's ministry, help us reset the room, go do tryouts for a fall league, and then coach his, district team that night. It was an all-day affair for you. So how do you balance like that priority in serving the church, leading a small group, but then also investing in this next generation at the league?
So I actually was thinking through this specific question of just time, right? I mean, it's busy. We're in a busy season of life, and really, thankfully, I'm the manager of the ball club, so I can set the times of practice. Thankfully, we're a navigator, so we kind of have that set routine, and Monday's just really a non-negotiable for us. That's when our small group meets, and so we really protect Mondays. Mary and I are working through carving out some time that we're additionally protecting. We're specifically Saturday evenings where we can be together, just her and I, or us with the kids. But really, it's the whole motivation is being able to love and to serve others. And really, I don't know that there's an amount of time that I can dedicate that I wouldn't be willing to do that. Yeah. So, it's the kids are a priority, the church is a priority, and just serving others is a priority. So, that's what it is for me.
I think you had a key phrase in there about there's some non-negotiable times. There's ones that we're going to intentionally set aside for these purposes and not let the league or church or other responsibilities, take away from other things you want to invest in. So what about for you, Aaron?
Yeah, I think discernment is a good addition to what Michael said. And just because we're in 7U, and so we're not doing the all-out year-round baseball, which, makes some people choose, like, hey, I'm not going to go to church because we just play baseball on Sundays. And it's like, wow, I don't think I could get on board with that. But we had a few tournaments in All-Stars that we won and played on Sundays, and we, we're out that week. But that wasn't a regular pattern. That's not who we are. And I think one small instance, we didn't make it out into the semifinals and finals in the last tournament of All-Stars. And I told Austin, hey, it'd be fun to go watch the championship, on Sunday. And he had been sleeping in all summer, and so I just let him sleep in, and we went to the 10:45 service that day. And he's like, hey, what about the game? I was like, that was only if we went to the early service, then we could have gone to the game, but we're going to go because it's not that important. It just would have been fun to see them, how it played out. So, but that was a chance to say, hey, it would have been good to go, but we didn't go to early church, so
this is going to be our priority this weekend.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what was pretty cool, speaking of what Aaron's talking about here. We were fortunate to win that tournament with our group and with our district, but we have many Clear Creek families on our team, and just a lot of followers of Jesus, thankfully, a lot of families there. And the number of families that prioritize church and were there at the early service before that 11:45 game. And I just told them, hey, if you're rolling in here 15 minutes before game time, we'll cinch our cleats up and we'll go to work. So, it was just really, really encouraging to hear that for sure. Because it's absolutely, we were there, I know several other families were there, and just that's a priority for us.
Absolutely. So talk about Sundays a little bit. So, one of the areas I personally struggle with youth sports is this time commitment that demands certain segments of our day. So, for example, League City and fall ball, they're playing on Sundays because soccer and football play on Saturday. So, like, we want people to be able to play that sport, but also play baseball. But we also want people to go to church, right? And so we're interacting with the league on that, or some of these tournaments that are weekend tournaments. And so there's times where it's like, okay, it's all stars. We're going to do this once or twice.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that could be a slippery slope into tournament ball that's every weekend. I mean, as our boys get older, how are you guys preparing your kids and yourselves for that discussion that's going to come up at some point about how we handle Sunday mornings, our commitments to the church? Talk about that a little bit.
I'll have to check with Rachel on that one.
Yes.
No, it is. We do talk about that a lot, and it's going to be hard. I mean, we don't see select ball as right around the corner because we love Little League and we love what it's about, and that's fine for those who have gone the select route. But but it does mean that there is a slippery slope, and you have to be careful because we're on the team. You just have to figure out how to handle that. But corporate worship is formative. It shapes us, and so it's not an option to play baseball. 40 weekends a year.
Right.
So I don't know what the number is. I think discernment's there because
I think that's
sports
true.
matter. I mean, all the life lessons, the friendships.
Yep.
We don't strip that away, but there are other days to play baseball too. So you got to figure
There's
that out.
missional opportunities there. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's a lot of pros to that.
Yes.
There's also
Yes.
a lot of pros to being connected in the local church on
Yes.
Sunday,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
How are y'all having those conversations, Michael?
So, I mean, the big thing is making sure that the if we choose to go select ball down the road, and I believe all these conversations we're several years away from that for us. I know for our age group, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a intimidating thing to think about, right? And it's like you want to obviously provide your son the best opportunity to continue to advance, but also what are you giving up? Right. And it's the being as a part of our local church and as involved as we are. That's a major part of our life, and it's a lot bigger than baseball. And just having to remind yourself that, and it's man, you see just a lot of kids get burnt out playing 40 weekends a year, and it's just pausing. Let's talk through this. Let's think about this and make the best decision for your kid, and most importantly for our family, right?
Yeah.
So that's we'll get to that down the road for sure.
Yeah. And so part of it's
when you
about,
figure it out, Michael. We'll
Yeah.
talk.
yeah, we'll all three get together.
We'll get back together.
We'll
for
have
sure.
lunch and have
Yes,
these conversations
exactly.
over the years. But yeah, you're helping your kid not get burned out. You're helping your kids set priorities at a young age. I remember playing ball and deciding whether we were going to play in some tournaments when I was young, and it's grown exponentially. Select ball has changed
for sure.
dramatically since I was there. But I remember my parents sitting me down. And this wasn't even about Sunday morning church. This was about Wednesday night church. Like we had Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night in the church that I grew up in before we started attending Clear Creek. And I remember them setting a priority like, we will not play in this league because it demands a practice on Wednesday and a game on Sunday. And we're just not doing that. And I was mad, I was angry, but I remember that to this day because my parents set a priority for me that I wasn't old enough to make that decision for myself. Sometimes parents are like, well, let my kids decide. You're going to let your kid decide between baseball and church? Come on. Let's help them when they can't make that decision yet. So I think you guys are thinking about it well. Let's continue to think about it well together. It's all good conversation. All right, so as a parent, obviously we want our boys to succeed. We want them to have fun. We want them to learn some things. But what are some benefits you personally have seen? So y'all started talking about this already, but what's the missional aspect? What are the relationships you've had with parents that have benefited? How have you experienced just personal benefit from your commitment?
Man, it really, I saw God's hand throughout this whole spring. It was so good. And I hesitate to share some of the positive feedback I got because I don't want it to, but I mean, the consistent theme that people share with me or Rachel was just that it was like a light in the Little League sphere. And I only share that because that really was my goal going into it. And so it was wonderful to see, but only because like Michael said, it's like it is such a distinction between intense, the way you coach a kid without love and encouragement, what that looks like, and what that's doing to the kids. And so when other parents are like, hey, your team was, middle of the pack, you finished fourth place, you're not building dynasty here, but I wish my kid was on your team. And it's not because you're winning every game. Actually, they might have beaten us that game, but they're like, the way y'all talk to your kids and the way, the culture you're building in that dugout and on that field is different than what my kid's getting, and they see it. And so all of that just creates opportunities. I've been thinking about Ephesians a lot since the Trinity and Gospel sermon series, and Ephesians 4:1. Walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you've been called. And so that's really my heartbeat, and that is when I show up on that field, that I am ready to represent Christ in how I communicate to the kids, and how I conduct myself with the parents and all that. And it takes God being with me to to work through those things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can think of a specific example, one with a family who they're become dear friends, and it was right after our championship game. We had just won the district championship, and the mom kind of pulls me over. She's like, "Hey, after the game, I want to share something with you." So played the game, and thankfully we won. And we're out in the middle. I mean, we're in the middle of a baseball diamond. How cool is this, right? And we get to talk about Jesus and her walk. And she's telling me, she goes, I just want to, I mean, like with tears in her eyes, she's like, I just want to thank you, similar to being that light. Just thank you for taking care of our son and protecting him and teaching him the right way to play the game and just really being in an environment of love. Yeah. And I was just, I mean, I'm teary-eyed as well, right? Giving her this big hug in the middle. We just want to championship, and that's what it's all about. I mean, if you can't get excited about coming to the ballpark for that, I don't know. But it's a second thing, and it'll be real quick. But we just had our fall draft, and I was in a room full of men who are leading the other teams, and we're going through a draft, and the league president's there, and he has notes on coaches that are requested coaches. And this is not me at all. I'm not not a boast or anything, but it's like one of those things. It's like the
Your name
request
keeps showing up
over, and almost to a point where I just kind of was keeping my head down because I don't want the other coaches to be giving me. But anyway, it was that was a unique experience, but it just kind of solidifies the work we're doing out there. And man, it's a blast. I love it.
I know it's hard not to you feel like you're bragging on yourselves. You're not. Like, you are humble, genuine men. And the reality is, you don't segment your faith. And so it's I walk with Jesus at church. I walk with Jesus. I lead. I walk with Jesus on the ball field. And people can distinguish what is authentic and what's not. Or people who claim to be followers of Jesus, but that doesn't translate into the way they coach, And so being in Little League, hearing you tell some of those things, people love you not because you won every game, but because you're a good coach who loves the kids and encourages kids.
Yeah, and I think the missional aspect there, too, is, like you said, not segmenting it, is that Christians aren't weird. I mean, we can be. Maybe we're weird a little bit, but actually, we can play baseball in a godly way and care about developing skills and care about winning in its right context. And I think that is can draw people to see the bigger picture that we're created to image and reflect God, and that's the best thing that we can have. And so when they see it, it's attractive, and it's not just oh, he's a Christian coach. Oh, he just passes out trophies if they show up to practice or something. It's so.
That was the word I was thinking of, Aaron, is it's attractive. Even people who aren't faith people, aren't Jesus followers, they're like, man, the way you treated my kid is different than the way that coach treated my kid. Yeah. And there's something different about the way you're doing that. And then they start to tie it to your, where you're following Jesus, So people know that I'm a pastor, but then there's a parent on that team when I was an assistant coach that was like, man, just thanks for encouraging my kid. They don't even want to follow Jesus yet, but they like the way I treated their kid, and they know that's connected to my faith walk, you know? And I know that's what you guys are doing on the ball field as well.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Hey, what are some cautions you'd give parents of Little Leaguers? So you guys coach out there. You see the way parents interact with their kids. How would you caution Little League parents, but also how would you encourage or challenge some Little League parents as well?
Cautions. This was a big one. I really thought through this one quite a bit. And really a big caution for parents is just making sure that you're backing up your coach and if you are fortunate to be with someone who is encouraging, make sure you're backing that coach up. And we hear there's a lot of different voices in the stands especially when your child's at the plate, or specifically if it's the catcher, and you're getting all these different voices out there, and they almost get lost in the noise of what to do. And it just puts so much pressure on the little guys out there. And that's the thing I'm real intentional about, specifically when our boys come up to plate. Tell them to take some time. I tell them to take a deep breath and then get in there and let's go to work. So it's just really my encouragement for parents would just to continue to just be positive and everything. I promise you, those coaches are out there working as hard as they can to put your kid in a position to be successful, and just encourage along the way.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah, I think similar to that is maybe just let them develop at their own pace. I mean, one of my favorite things was when Austin, somewhere in the middle of the season, was like, "Hey, Dad, can we come go in the backyard and throw the ball?" I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And that's exciting because it's not me. Hey, we need to throw because you dropped the ball the other day, and we're gonna lose the game if you do that again. Like it's like he wanted it. It's like, okay, now we can do this. And I think just for me, even just reflecting on my childhood, like I mentioned in my Little League experience, like that really sprinting from the dugout to the concession stand actually kind of stands out up there. So let them have fun.
Good.
Keep it fun, because it's going to get intense, and it's okay to want to win, but just have fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
That's all really helpful. All right, so when your time is done, we'll make this our last question. When your time is done coaching, when our kids age out or they go off to high school or they do whatever they're going to do, what do you hope the legacy will be that you left in the Little League where you were? Like if people remember Michael Graves' investment in League City Little League or Aaron Chester's investment in Friendswood Little League, what is that legacy? Not like your legacy. It's not about you. But what's your hope for when you leave for the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, it is not about me. And actually, that's my answer would just be that people would have a glimpse of the kingdom of God in the context of baseball, that love and joy and kindness would fill the ballpark, and then it would be fun. And it would be great that people would want to be there, and they would get to experience God through that game.
Through a great game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I echo that, Aaron. It's just you having that opportunity to be able to do that at the ballpark, and just that's lasting generational impact.
Yeah.
And what a blessing that is for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Tying into the kingdom, man.
Yes.
We pray often about God, your will be done, your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven, or down the East 96 corridor. That's a prayer for us at our campus often. But at the ball field as it is in heaven, what would it look like for us to bring a little glimpse of heaven and the kingdom of God to the ball field? Well, thank you guys for jumping in on the podcast. Man, I respect both of you a lot, not just for the way you lead in the church, but the way you're leading at the ball field as well. I really do think that godly men can leave a legacy in our community through investing in the next generation. So for our church family, man, I hope this has been a helpful conversation for you as we all seek to honor God and bless everybody around us.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. If you haven't yet, make sure that you hit subscribe down below and check out ClearCreekResources.org, where we have videos, books, and sermons on there, as well as our audio podcast. Thanks for watching.